are arising concerns over students swapping the classrooms for homeschooling.
When I've gone back into schools, you can see the difference in the children's academic ability, but also the mental health.
Also today, the impact on Manchester gay village affected by coronavirus.
And a church in Pendleton is facing closure because of COVID-19.
Our top story is about how children have been affected by the recent lockdown in relation to their education and well-being. Our education correspondent Alice Peoples went to find out more.
Today marks the 66th year since the United Nations Universal Children's Day was established, a day that hopes to promote and help children's welfare. This year, many children will have been shaken up by the recent pandemic and multiple lockdowns.
But when I've gone back into schools, you can see the difference in the children's academic ability, but also the mental health, and in general, just life skills. So for a lot of children, particularly in the school that I work in, their school is their safe place, and it's the place where they can come in and they'll have a hot meal and they can get on and they know that they're safe. So for children, it's tough being at home.
Yeah.
So definitely better in school, yeah.
Jessica Tyers agrees that it is beneficial for kids' mental health to be in schools.
And I've seen a big improvement in their mental health.
Aww.
Even though things were different and they weren't in the same classes, they were just so happy to be able to see their friends and socialise and actually learn in the environment that they're used to.
COVID-19 has caused a lot of devastation this year for all of us. It has boarded up businesses and left Manchester's Canal Street resembling nothing more than the average Manchester suburb, as there's not a single drag queen in sight. Our correspondents Harriet Beddoe and Abby Carrington went to find out more.
Stay at Coronavirus.
From the usual Saturday night scenes of a vibrant and colourful atmosphere in Manchester's Party Central, it has been left deserted by the closures caused by COVID-19, leaving members of the LGBTQ community devastated and concerned for the future of the businesses who keep the gay village alive. Over to Abby with more information on this.
So obviously you're the supervisor in Gay Village, and how has this affected you and how has this affected people that you know of the community?
So for me, with my job role, it's my main source of income, and with COVID, financially, I've had to struggle living off furlough, and especially with the village, it's a safe space for me. It's where I feel most comfortable, and a lot of my friends and friendship group come from the village, and it's kind of made a disconnection, and it's affected many of myself and a lot of people that I know with our mental health.
It allowed for you to grow for most people. So say for example, I was very privileged in that I was staying with family members who never really judged me for who I am, especially when I came out as non-binary, whereas it wasn't the same for other people because they might have been subjected to staying with homophobic/transphobic family members.
The closure has come with a lot of sadness and anxiety, as it is what many members of the LGBTQ community call home, a place where they feel they can truly be themselves.
Even though the gay village and the rest of the country may be closed, the Manchester LGBT community is still strong and will be even stronger once the community opens back up.
A Salford landmark that played a big role in Emmeline Pankhurst's life faces closure. Fundraising has begun to save St Luke's Church in Pendleton, which has faced financial trouble since the coronavirus outbreak. Marcus Smith reports.
It's known as the Church on the Hill. It's more than 150 years old. It's survived 2 world wars, but it may not survive this pandemic. St Luke's played a big role in Emmeline Pankhurst's life. Now its doors may close for good.
The church is very much connected to Manchester and Salford's political history. Emmeline Pankhurst was married here. So it's, as a 19th century church, it's got lots of historical connections. It's architecturally significant. and it's at the heart of its community. It's probably one of the most recognisable buildings in Salford. We're looking for fundraising just to help us cover overheads and essentials and get us over this loss of income that we've suffered since March.
Just like Emmeline Pankhurst 142 years ago, generations of Stacey Broad's family have got married in the church on the hill. Stacey hopes to next year.
My parents got married there, my grandparents and my auntie and uncle as well, so I wanted to keep the tradition. They all got married on the same day as well. Well, my auntie lives across the road. I grew up across the road and the house is literally facing the church. She goes to the Dramatic Society over the road, so she's always there.
The appeal has raised more than £1,600. Its target is £10,000, which would help Stacey follow in Emmeline Pankhurst's footsteps. Marcus Smith in Pendleton.
Yesterday, I went to see how busy the city centre of Manchester was and to find out what the general public actually thought of this current lockdown. Coronavirus has massively impacted England, especially up here in the north of England, in Manchester. On a normal autumn sunny day, just behind me, city centre's workers would normally be having their lunch. However, they've been told to work at home, and due to that, they're no longer here. Even worse, some are on the furlough scheme with their jobs up in the air. In Manchester today, workers who are still travelling to the city gave us their views.
It's just silly at the moment, mate. Just going back into lockdown, people getting into work, back out of work, and we're all just kind of struggling, and the last thing we need is this. Just so stupid. I think it's absolutely an absolute joke.
Transport is still running as normal in the city. Understandably, every mode of public transport isn't as busy as it once used to be here.
I really don't believe lockdown works at all. If the figures are going up and the R rate's going up and we're all locked down, where's the sense in that? And how long can they keep locking us down?
Exercise isn't a thing of the past. The general public is encouraged to safely take part of some form of physical exercise. This has resulted in some people viewing the lockdown as much easier to do.
Yeah, it seems okay. I think it's handled a bit nicer, it's a bit more relaxed. You can go out and like support little businesses, or you can kind of go for a walk with a friend, and yeah, it feels a bit like less intense.
As the Manchester people begin to get used to this lockdown, it poses the question whether lockdown will be as bearable during the festive period. George Booth, Quays News. Well, the atmosphere there over in Manchester looked very, very ghostly. What about on campus, Ollie, so far?
Well, it's the same here. It's like a ghost town. There are only people coming in for their lectures.
Yeah. Well, going back into the city centre yesterday, it really, really did assure to me that people are really sticking to these lockdown rules.
Salford City are hosting Bradford City tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and Richie Wellens will most definitely want to get back to winning ways after their defeat at Bolton Wanderers last week. And finally, Brendan Rendell from Salford has been doing his bit during the pandemic. He has been raising money for Chester Zoo, and the zoo has lost revenue during the pandemic. Tom Packer reports.
Chester Zoo, a giant in the zoo industry and a place which has entertained many, now on the verge of a financial crisis. The zoo put out an appeal during lockdown to help raise funds to keep them open. Brendan Randall is one of those volunteers.
Something that struck a chord with me. I've been many times to Chester Zoo with children that I've worked with over the last 12 years with special educational needs. They love going there, their faces are amazing. And then spending a lot of time in running in Africa, they play a vital role in conservation.
In 2016, Brendan raised over £30,000 to build a school in Malawi, and is now using his bright costumes to raise money for the beloved zoo.
Yeah, Chester Zoo have been, so supportive from day one, and, we've sort of had a laugh, and we're in a lot of correspondence, and I think they're just really grateful. I mean, I'm one of many fundraisers, but I think that's one of the positives that's come out of lockdown. It's pulled people together, so me and all the other fundraisers linking with Chester Zoo, it's all positive. But they've been so grateful for what I've done.
Chester Zoo has since put out a statement stating, "The zoo's closure due to the pandemic has left a huge £5.5 million scar in our finances. This has been one of the worst crises in the zoo's history, but our hearts have been warmed by seeing the endless kindness, love and support flood in from our supporters. We are so incredibly grateful to wonderful supporters like Brendan, who continue to fundraise for us, taking on all manners of wacky, gruelling and remarkable challenges." With the pandemic easing up, the money raised from people like Brendan will be sure to make the zoo's reopening a roaring success.
That's all for this week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.